Well, this Tati and Halo Beauty lawsuit turned out to be quite the roller coaster. So Tati is a makeup YouTuber. You may know her as the Bi Sister Lady. I am not about to talk about the James Charles stuff in this video. I would have to research a lot of that stuff again and we would be here for hours. So we're just gonna gloss over that. So she owned a company called Halo Beauty, and then there were two co-owners with her, her husband and then another guy who goes by Clark Swanson. Now this is a picture of Clark Swanson that I see used in all of the videos that mention him. Could they not have found a better photo of this man? This looks like a photo out of an analog horror series. This looks like something that you'd see on an obituary. Why is it black and white? I'm gonna read through Clark's initial suit first, and fair warning, everything he says in this initial lawsuit, just don't take it as fact. Just heads up. Anyways, in 2020, Clark decided to get his hands dirty and sued Tati and her husband James. The first line of this thing is, "This is a lawsuit caused by the defendant's greed." What an absolutely awesome way to start a lawsuit. I feel like I'm watching a movie. The gist of this thing is he's accusing them of committing fraud, negligence, and a breach of fiduciary duty, which from what I can gather basically means they failed to act in the best interest of all parties involved. Alright, so it says here Tati and James planned a nutritional supplements business and they were going to split the profits 50-50 with Clark here. But before the business got off the ground, the Westbrooks were like, hey, instead of us owning 50%, how about Tati, James, and Clark each own a third of the business? And in exchange, Tati's gonna release every makeup thing that she ever does under Halo Beauty. It says here, Westbrook related that she was sitting at her dining room table one night with Laura, Manny, James Charles, and Jeffree Star when Jeffree said a competitor to Halo Beauty, Sugar Bear Hair, offered him $200K to make a promo video. Upon hearing this, Tati had a big brain moment and decided to use her influencer connections to try and sell Halo Beauty. So she told Clark all the influencers agreed, we won't promote Sugar Bear, we'll promote Halo. And this was one of the big reasons Clark said, okay, I'll give you the 2/3. Dude, Clark's suit makes it sound like she just assembled the Avengers of makeup to get him to agree to the new thing. Also, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about the James Charles thing too much, but it is worth mentioning James did promote Sugar Bear Hair. So they launched their first product and this thing does remarkably well. I didn't write the exact numbers in my notes. I'm pretty sure it's like they made $1 million the first week and then the next week they tripled that amount. And so they decided to keep making Halo stuff. But now things start to get a little juicy according to Clark. Remember that earlier part where it said everything Tati releases when it comes to beauty, it's gonna be under Halo? Well, it says here the Westbrooks cut a separate deal to launch a cosmetics product, a color palette, without working with Halo and Clark. So they didn't see any revenue from it. This is actually starting to remind me of the Sniper Wolf lawsuit, where Aaliyah allegedly started securing brand deals that her husband had no input on and didn't see any revenue from. What a coincidence. And it also says in Clark's lawsuit that Tati and James expected him to file the suit, so they just decided to take some money out of the company. Anyways, that concludes this portion of the video covering Clark's lawsuit. So now we get to move on to Tati's response to this suit, which basically just turns the tables at about 3,000 RPM. Alright, Tati's suit starts off with some exposition, a little background profile on Mr. Swanson. I wrote him down in my notes as Mr. S, so I think I'm just going to refer to him by that from now on. He sounds like an actual supervillain that way. So it says, Mr. S says he's going to devote all his time that he had to Halo. He said he was a millionaire and he had a bunch of resources to try and build this thing up to as the best company it could be. Now that statement is actually really funny in hindsight because the initial $200K that he used to try and help the company get off the ground, half of that was borrowed. Alright, now listen, I know when people say they're millionaires, a lot of they don't have like $1 million in their pocket that they can just impulse buy a freaking yacht. A lot of that's tied up in like stocks and assets, but I feel like that's a huge red flag. He's a billionaire, but he had to borrow half of the money that he gave you. And on the topic of him trying to devote his entire time to this company, it says here that he was very unproductive, he didn't pay the bills, and he didn't meet the deadlines that they set. Actually, in 2019, Halo Beauty apparently didn't release any new products, and the reason for that is because he didn't get the formulas out on time. And it says here, apparently, one of the big reasons that they all decided to take 1/3 of the business instead of the standard 50-50 that they used to do was because on top of the business partner already not doing a lot of stuff that he said he would do, apparently he was going to have a child around a certain point, and then at a point he was also addicted to anxiety meds. Dude was popping Xannies like a SoundCloud rapper, I guess. So Tati's husband was like, I'm going to take over a lot of his responsibilities since he's not operating at the ideal condition. Also, apparently, that whole thing about Tati was gonna only put her beauty products out under Halo Beauty, that was, according to her, that was never discussed ever. Actually, not only was it never discussed, Halo didn't even have a trademark to like work in the beauty space. They only had the trademark to work as a vitamin company. It says here the only agreement that they had, like anything similar to that, was they agreed they weren't gonna start another pharmaceutical or nutraceutical company, and Mr. S freaking broke that rule. Clark, you absolute maniac. Anyways, onto that color palette that Clark took issue with because it wasn't released under Halo. So that was released under Tati Beauty. And okay, so he claims he had no idea about this company until it released, but Tati says that's not only completely false, he straight up asked to be, he asked for PR for his daughter and he attended the launch. Bro, how do you people get the confidence to lie about things that seem so easy to disprove? But that's not even the weirdest thing he did. Clark's own brother decided to email Tati and James about how apparently Clark kept emailing people under a fake name, pretending to be an assistant to Tati and James. Oh, and then, so he was at the Westbrook's house with Jeffree Star, and then Jeffree Star decides to walk back to his car for some reason. And not only did Clark decide to follow Jeffree back to his car, he then sat inside of the car without Jeffree inviting him in. And he then posted a picture of Jeffree's Lamborghini on his own Instagram. Alright, I'm gonna clown on this guy for what he did, but I'm also gonna clown on the fact that it seems like he's simping for Jeffree Star of all people. Also, this isn't as interesting or funny, but remember how he was upset at Tati and James for allegedly taking money out of the company because they smelled a lawsuit coming? Yeah, he actually did that. Anyways, we're done with that chapter. 2021 rolls around. Tati says, hey, we're gonna shut Halo Beauty down. The Rona's got us in a bind, and also the lawsuit that this company has to deal with. It's making it hard to do anything. But there were actually a couple lawsuits this year. Y'all might remember this one. I forgot about it. It was when she sued without a crystal ball. This lawsuit was about how Katie, the owner of that channel, paraphrasing from the lawsuit, she made videos targeting the Westbrooks and Halo, designed to ruin Tati's good name and reputation. Katie sums up this whole fiasco better than I ever could. Let me tell you, I was on the floor after hearing this.
So through talking with one another in the mediation, I was able to share with the Westbrooks that as part of my defense, some of the certain statements that I had made that they had found to be disparaging had actually come from various sources. In the mediation, I also learned information from them that actually led me to believe that several of these sources had manipulated me into publishing disparaging statements about the Westbrooks for their own purposes and to otherwise cause harm to the Westbrooks. Starting over a year ago, one of these sources in particular had repeatedly contacted me totally unsolicited and provided me over the course of several months with disparaging information about the Westbrooks and their various businesses. It's now my opinion that this person contacted me for the purpose of feeding me and manipulating me into publishing disparaging statements about the Westbrooks to cause them harm. This source then sued the Westbrooks and asked me to break the story about his lawsuit. This source is the Westbrooks business partner in Halo Beauty, Clark Swanson.
Dude, when I heard her say this, I felt like my third eye was open. This put everything in a whole new context for me. This dude is running a psyop against a makeup YouTuber. Alright, now we're moving on to this year, September. So Tati uploaded her I'm sick of it video. And in the video, she says for the past 3 years, in 4 separate states, she's been sued by the same person. Dude, Clark is on a warpath against her. Alright, I'm just gonna run through the deets here. So the first suit was filed in California. Now, I just want to bring attention to the fact here. Halo Beauty was not based in California. Neither Tati nor James lived in California. None of the employees lived in Cali, and neither did Clark. Is this guy on drugs? Well, okay, maybe he is. But like, how zooted do you have to be to file a lawsuit where none of the defendants and nobody involved lives? What? Alright, the first case got dismissed as it should have, thankfully, but then Another lawsuit was filed in Washington, this time over defamation because she talked about that suit in a video of hers. So that case got dismissed, and then we moved to Texas. We moved to Cowboy Land, and then she got another lawsuit from this dude. I'm getting conflicting info on this one. A lot of other people I've heard talk about it, they say the case was dismissed, but then Tati says that she just straight up won the case.
Now we're doing the case in Nevada. There was a blip where we got sued, same person, in Texas as well, won that.
I'm gonna go with Tati on this one and just assume she curb stomped him. And then, so we have another lawsuit. Tati's not involved in this one, but a bunch of Halo Beauty partners filed a suit against Clark this time. This one's still ongoing, so I want to know where this one ends up. All right, now we move to Nevada, I don't know how you pronounce it, the state that looks like a Dorito. He sued her there too. Apparently that's where the company was actually based, so he finally hit the bullseye there. You know that game that they play on Good Mythical Morning where they have to guess where the different foods come from, and then they throw darts at a map and then they hit like every other country except the one that's the right answer? I feel like that's what this guy was doing with his lawsuits. Anyways, this is the most recent lawsuit. She already gave her deposition. I don't know what the verdict is yet. We'll see what happens. Man, I am so happy I decided to look into this. I love a good legal train wreck.